partnered with Community Health Choice to present our communities with education and relatable practices to care for your mental health and wellness. Let's get started by shifting into that student mode as I share a little bit more about my position. I'm Miss Haley. My name is up here on the board for all of you. I'm the Mental Health First Aid Outreach Coordinator, and what that means is that I provide mental health first aid certification trainings to my community members, to educators, to the individuals who work at the local mental health authorities, and more. I also give courses like this and tutorials to help you learn how to take care of yourself. So stick around at the end because we're going to do something very fun that you can do with your whole family. I'd like to start by showing you guys some facts and figures about mental health, since this month is all about becoming aware of it. Did you know that 64.1% of youth with major depression do not receive any mental health treatment? Or that 1 in 5 teens and young adults lives with a mental health condition? Let's talk about COVID and think about how that might have impacted the mental health in not only our towns and cities, but in America and the world. COVID-19 has dramatically increased mental health needs. The CDC told us that in February of 2021, symptoms of anxiety disorder and depression were up 4-fold. Now let's talk about what mental health is, because it's going to be important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence all the way through adulthood. Mental health is going to include our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and act. It also determines how we handle stress and relate to others and make choices. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about today, is some stressful situations and ways that we can practice mindfulness to get ourselves out of that thought pattern. But first, let's learn about some things that factor into our mental health. We have things like biology. These are going to be our genes and our brain chemistry individually. Or life experiences such as trauma or abuse. These things can have a major impact on how we see the world and affect our mental health. And lastly, family history of mental health problems. If you have anyone in your family who may have struggled with depression, anxiety, even for a period of time, you could be more susceptible to that as well. Now, I know that not everyone is going to be aware of if they have a mental health diagnosis. A lot of people don't get to the point where they really need extensive intervention, where they go to a doctor. But we can all empathize with mental health challenges. And what that means is that's something that we all go through. And so we can imagine how someone with mental health illness might live. So these mental health challenges are going to cause major changes in a person's normal way of thinking, feeling, or acting. They might change the way a person is living their life. So it's going to interfere with their ability to do tasks like they normally do. And lastly, that interference might last longer than normal emotions or reactions. So every time we experience a mental health challenge, it might get a little bit tougher for us to come out of that with a positive mindset if we're not taking adequate care of ourselves every day. Let's talk about things that might make us vulnerable to stress. And these are all some things that we can probably relate to. Not getting enough sleep. Have you ever had a night where you just tossed and turned? Maybe you were worried about a test the next day and you just didn't get the quality of sleep that you really needed to power your brain the next day. That can really cause some extra stress. Also, not having a network of support. And what that means is maybe we don't have those same friends in our class that we did last year, or we're getting a new teacher, so we're having to remake our support systems. We're having to learn again who's going to be in our friend group this year at school. And that can be stressful. Experiencing a major life change, such as moving, the death of a loved one, starting a new job, or having a child, getting married. This one sounds a little funny because half of them sound a little negative, and then half of them even sound good. But when you think about it, even new things can cause us a little bit of stress. Experiencing poor physical health. So if we're not able to get enough sleep at night, it might affect our energy level the next day, and we maybe don't feel like playing tag at recess, or we just want to take a nap after school instead of going outside and playing. That could be stress that's causing you to not take care of your physical health the way that your body's asking you to. And lastly, not eating well or not eating enough. Sometimes we get really, really busy, but we have to remember that the food that we eat is powering our brain and our body to do all of those tasks that we have to do during the day that are going to make us grow and be really great when we grow up. Now that we've learned some things that can cause our stress, I want to give you some ways that you can reduce it as well. Accepting your needs. Now, as a parent, this could mean understanding what your triggers are, understanding those situations that might make you physically or mentally agitated, things that might push your buttons, because the more that we're aware of these things, we can accept that we might need to avoid certain situations, or we might need ways to cope with certain situations that we know cause us stress. Manage your time. Prioritizing certain activities can really help you take really great care of your mental health. So one thing that I like to do is making sure to schedule times for me to take care of myself. So I want to manage my time so that at the end of the day, I have time to read my favorite book or watch my favorite TV show. Those are all ways that you can manage your time. Practicing relaxation, like deep breathing, meditation, progressive muscle relaxation is another. Another thing for the kiddos to try, practicing relaxation, is deep breathing. You can show them how much air and energy they can use when they're breathing using a balloon to produce the effect of a lung so they can see that visually. Exercising daily, even if it's just taking a walk or getting up and doing a couple jumping jacks. Setting time aside for yourself. So this is going to be really important for our parents. We want to make sure that we're setting aside time for ourselves to be mindful about our own emotions and to give us time to process busy days. We have days where a lot of things happen. It's easy to almost turn on autopilot. So we want to set aside some time to get back to yourself. Eating well, getting enough sleep. We've talked about those. You guys make sure you're eating enough. And to get enough sleep, exercising really helps with that too, to tire out the body. avoiding alcohol and drugs. A lot of times we think that alcohol and drugs are going to help our stress. And while momentarily they can change the way that we perceive our stress, they can actually add more stress over time. So I encourage you to educate yourself about alcohol and drug use and to check in with yourself to see how much you are trying to avoid situations of stress while using something else. Back to practicing relaxation really quickly. I want to show my kiddos something. So kiddos, let's get out our happy hands. I'm going to show you a way to get out some extra nerves when you have a lot of thoughts going on in your brain. One thing that we want to do is take our palms like this, and we're going to give the thoughts a little hive to move in. And we're going to deep breathe. And we're going to blow out some of those extra thoughts. And that's a great way to try and relax quickly. And lastly, you guys make sure that you have someone to talk to when you are really stressed. Sometimes the best thing we can do is get those words out of our brain and out of our mind and express them verbally. Being able to express ourselves is such a wonderful gift. If you don't have anyone that you feel comfortable with, there's lots of different hotlines, text lines, any way that you need to feel comfortable to talk to someone. There's a way that we can connect you to a mental health professional who knows how to handle mental health crises and situations and provide coping skills. You can refer to Community Health Choice for any of those numbers or resources. All right, now that we've talked about some ways to reduce stress, I want to zone in on one called mindfulness. And I really love this one because you don't need a whole lot of extra things to be mindful. Mindfulness is a basic human ability to be fully present. It's being aware of where we are and what we're doing, but we're not being overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on. We don't have too many thoughts about what we need to do after or before. We're not thinking about the next thing we're going to say. All of those anxious thoughts melt away when we're mindful and we're enjoying the present moment. Mindfulness is something that we all naturally possess, but it's more readily available to us when we practice it on a daily basis. Now, we've gone over a couple of ways that you can do that. Kiddos, even our beehive for our anxious thoughts, that is actually mindfulness, because we're understanding that in the present moment, we may have a lot of thoughts going on, a lot of extra energy, but we're not judging it. We are actually giving it a space to play. That's helping us be mindful and helping us understand how we feel in that moment. Now, there's other techniques and exercises that can be used to help you better understand yourself and others in the way of mindfulness. So now I want to practice one with you. We are going to hop over to make our worry box now, and I'm going to explain about that and all of those good things. So let's head over to the Mindfulness Laboratory and get started. All right, guys, now we're going to hop in and make our worry boxes. So the idea behind the worry box is to become aware of those things that might be troubling you. They might be hanging around when you're trying to learn at school. They may be nagging you while you're trying to play with your buds. So we want to close our eyes and try and think of some of those. Yeah, just like that. Good job. Thoughts just like that, we are going to want to remember and put in a jar for now in our mind while we make this worry box. Now, this is something that we can do all together as a family. And all you really need is a tissue box. I have one right here. This little guy is going to be my worry box. He has a hole at the top so that I can put my worries in there, and we'll find out how in a minute. Right now, I want you to summon up all those happy times. We're going to think about when Mom gives us big hugs, and when Grandma bakes us cookies. We're going to think about the toys we get on Christmas, and whenever we ace that big test. All right, so let's take a look at all of our supplies and see what things remind us of those happy memories. I really like that this one reminds me to dream, because when you dream, you're not afraid. You're not afraid to fail. You're excited for the fun that you might have. So that's all we're gonna do right now, is just think of all those happy times and decorate our box. You can take paper like this if you wanna look at yourself in the mirror and remember these happy times that you're making right now while you're crafting up this awesome, awesome box. You can put it here. We can get some fancy tape and wrap it like a Christmas gift. That way we can remember those happy feelings from Christmas. Anything you can imagine that draws up all of those good feelings, we are going to put that into the crafting of this box. And when you're done, it'll come out looking something like this. So this is my worry box. I really like flowers because they remind me that sometimes seeds can take a while to grow, but they can produce something really, really beautiful. Sometimes worries can be like that. So, this is how, after you've decorated your box, you can put those worries in there and get back to your fun playtime and learning at school and running around with your buds. All right, so after all those fun times making that box with your family, it might look something like this. This is my worry box. Now, I really like flowers, remind me to grow, but yours might look a little different. It might have some more dinosaurs, it might have cars, it might have pink, blue, anything that you like. That's what it's about. Now this is how we're gonna use it day to day, now that we've completed it. Mom or dad, big sister, big brother, even you little kiddos, we're gonna grab pieces of paper and have them sitting by our box, maybe in the living room, maybe over by the kitchen or the doorway where you put on your shoes, somewhere where all of you pass through every day. And we're gonna have a pin there too, because we want to get this worry out of our brain and out here in the real world with us so that we can do something with it. Something like put it in our worry box. Let's see, so we may be worried about the upcoming school year because we don't know who our teacher's gonna be. We may not be in the same class with our friends. We may be going to a completely different school, and all these things can make a lot of different worries in your mind. So you can make it all into one big worry, or you can use as many pieces of paper as you need to in the morning. Let's make one today for me. I am a little worried about next school year. And if you want, you can put reasons why. You can put things that you wish you had, like, I wish I could be stronger. Because all of those things are gonna sit in this worry box for you and learn to grow. Now, we wanna roll this up tight. And as we're rolling it up, we're gonna start to look at our worry box and look at all the pretty things on it that we made. And remember all those good times when we were hanging out with our friends, we got a surprise that we weren't expecting, all of those things. I like to keep little emoji stickers by my worry box so that I can tape it up. I'm gonna put a thumbs up because this sticker says I can do this. Perfect. Now we've got a little scroll. We're gonna drop that in our worry box. And when I drop it, I like to look at my little flower monster because he is gonna eat all those worries up, yummy, yummy, so they can grow into these beautiful flowers. Moms, dads, big sisters, big brothers, little kiddos, you guys can also put fun things in here to remind you that your worry is in a safe place. It's being taken care of while you are at school learning, while you're out there having fun. It may be in here learning and growing too into one of the fun things like the flowers, or maybe you have little cars in there. And the very last thing I like to do is look at myself in my little mirror sheet, and I made that just out of a little piece of craft paper that was metallic. So you may look a little funny. I like to give myself a little chuckle. And it says, "You are enough. Don't forget to dream and sparkle." Just to remind myself that I've got this, and you do too. I hope that you guys really enjoy this wonderful activity as a family, and that you can drop your worries in this box and remember that even worries can grow and they can be comforted there in that space that you made of all of your happy times while you go and have fun and learn and grow. Thank you guys for joining in, and have a wonderful summer.